everybody. This is The Gift. So this little story is about how I met my lovely boyfriend. And from this moment forward, I'm going to refer to myself as Miss ADHD, and he's going to be known as Mr. OCD. So I'm also going to describe our relationship since then and how we haven't killed one another to date, but there's always time. So it's a bumpy ride. I'm going to ask you to buckle up and we'll get going. So going back about 10 or 12 years, most of my friends were starting to drop like flies. They were getting married, having babies, and I found myself in a situation where I was very much single, but I had nobody to mingle. So I knew I had to take drastic measures because Mr. Wright wasn't going to come knocking on my door. So to my horror, I realised that I was going to have to go on a dating website. Needless to remark, 100% at that time outside of my comfort zone. So what I did was I went online and I found a nice little website. It was Ireland's answer to Tinder at the time, and it was called anotherfriend.com. So as you can imagine, this was well before selfies, it was well before smartphones. There was no swiping left or right, it was just a basic messaging system. And before I knew it, I was up and running. I had myself online and I had myself subscribed. So I found two pretty nice photos or so, I thought. I got them up, and then I decided to create this little blurb about myself. And I knew I was really going to have to sell myself, even though I was quite shy at the time. But basically what I said was, if you're looking at this profile, you'd be absolutely crazy not to get in touch, because I am so much fun. And I don't know where I got the confidence, but anyway, I did. So needless to remark, I had a good few takers because of the blurb, I believe, and the photos weren't so bad either. So I had about 10 dates, I would say, over a period of 8 months. And they weren't successful, which is fine. And I think one of the reasons was I kept going home. I kept getting the last bus home. I was really interested in the long run. I wanted to find a partner, but they were all going, well, what's going on? So as luck would have it, I eventually came upon who I'm going to call Mr. OCD. The lovely Mr. OCD. He clicked on me, and he was 6'2" and very handsome, and he wanted to meet me. I was in there straight away. We arranged to meet at the church pub in Dublin. It was my idea because it was close to my bus, so I didn't. So just in case it didn't work out or things went awry, I was able to slip out the door. So I got to the pub and I had a bit of a scan around the room, and then I spotted him in his navy polo shirt, and I went, that'll do nicely. And right then and there, I decided that maybe I might unsubscribe as I'm here. But of course, it wasn't a smartphone, so I waited until I went home. So anyway, I'd found my man. That night was just amazing. It was the first night where we obviously had met. It was just really, really good. We went from the church pub. He whisked me away in a taxi. We went to the Port House in South William Street, all lit with candles. I didn't know myself. From there, we fell across the road to Dakota. We had more fun. And I'm told by Mr. OCD that we had a burger on the way home. I know nothing about it. Now, I still didn't go home. I got a taxi home, €100 later. I was very lucky. This was the one person that I'd ever met that when you rang and he didn't answer, there was no wondering when he was going to ring back. He rang back about 5 seconds later. The texts were answered straight away, and I just couldn't believe my luck. What I would like to describe now our relationship as from then on as being pretty much old-fashioned, gentlemanly style. We'd meet up, we'd go into town, we'd have a few drinks, we'd go to a movie, and I'd get the bus home. Then we'd go and we'd do all the galleries, we'd go to the Chili Club, and I got the bus home. Then we went somewhere else, and eventually I got the bus home. So at some stage he said to me, would you ever stay out late? And I said, well, I'm not sleeping with you. And he said, I don't want to sleep with you. So I said, excuse me? So anyway, things were going so well that he eventually moved in. And about a month later, 2 months later, whenever it was, and it was only then at that stage I started to see a few red flags of the OCD. I went up to his room one day and I opened the wardrobes and we had wall-to-wall hangers, mahogany, beautiful. I'd never seen anything like it in my life. All the clothes were colour coordinated, all his cosmetics, labels out, height coordinated as well. Got on the phone to my friends and I said, you got to get over here, guys, you got to see this. So I started doing guided tours of his wardrobes. That kind of organisation started to pervade into the rest of the house. The fridge was done, the dishwasher was done, the presses were done, we had spices here, we had herbs here, the hot press was done, and my house was starting not to be my own. One of the most concerning behaviours he had, we used to go to the shops and he'd have his bags and he'd have his list. And he's all ready with his token for the trolley, and we'd go in and we'd go up one aisle, down the same aisle, up one aisle, down the same aisle. So I found myself in a situation where if I wanted to go from the cheese on this side over to the milk on that side, no, he said, that's further down on my list. He said, we'll get it on the way back down. So I felt like I was handcuffed to the trolley, and that was becoming a bit of a problem. So now you may say, well, what about you, Miss ADH2? You can't be all that special. Well, I kind of felt like I was fairly well put together at that stage. I was very kind, I was caring, I was really creative, and I will admit I was a little bit forgetful and a little bit messy. So I will say, if I'm ever painting, I'm that person that steps down off a ladder into a bucket of paint onto the carpet, and then I spend 2 hours cleaning the carpet, and that's what happens there. I'm also the person that destroys the house completely, and I often have to say to Ken when he's coming home, will you just give us a little bit of notice as to when you're coming back so I can reorganise it? One of the serious things that I did quite recently, he tells me that if you were to ask him what is she like, he'll say she's actually forgetful in the extreme. She's a disaster in the house, and she's like a demented squirrel looking for things. So this is my last story, and I'm going to wrap the whole thing up, but it's one of, I'm not proud, put it that way, I'm not proud of it. I was coming home from a flight in London. Mr. OCD was staying on, and I said, okay, great, we had no car at the airport, and he said, get the buses. And I said, I haven't got a bus since 1988. I said, I'm not. He said, get the bus. So I said, do you know what, I'm going to try it for the crack. So we arrived into Dublin Airport. I was getting a bus, it was all timed. I shot through customs and I got out to the other side and I said, fuck it. My bag, it was still on the carousel inside security. So over I go to the courtesy phone and I say, sorry, I've left my bag inside, and the lovely Aer Lingus lady brought me back inside through security, and I was reunited with my bag. So I was off and running to Terminal 1, and I got to the stop where I thought I was going to get my bus, and I asked everybody at the bus stop, is this going to Dundalk via Drogheda? Quite discreetly, individually, and they all said, yeah. So the bus arrived, Dundalk, Drogheda, and I got on. First time on the bus, didn't see things before around the M1. We shot up there, and we got to the terminus in Drogheda, and I was going, this is great, must do this more often. So I was getting on a bus then from Laytown, and I was arriving at my house getting on the bus in Drogheda and arriving at the house in Laytown. And as I was on the bus, which had arrived quite soon, I was kind of really relaxed, and I said, I'm going to get a bit to eat now. It's 9:30. I'll have time for Love Island, and then I'll get into bed because I was up early the next day. So I got off the bus. I was walking up the avenue. I went, good Jesus, where's my bag? My bag was on the bus, and no, it wasn't the Drogheda bus, it was the Dundalk bus, which had gone an hour before. So I spent the next 2 hours driving up the motorway to retrieve my bag. So that is just the tip of the iceberg, and I am the gift that keeps on giving. I'm going to say this, and I said I wasn't going to, but I'm going to tell you. I left my phone in the toilet earlier on, and I don't know whether you know behind here, but it's a warren of corridors, and I was like a demented squirrel trying to get to my phone, which thankfully I found. So as you can see, it goes on and on and on. So between myself and Mr. OCD himself, a gift that keeps on giving, and myself, we're well suited. My final line I would like to say is, Mr. OCD is definitely my gift. He has supported me 100% through some very difficult times in my life, both personally and also medically. And he definitely is my gift. Now, I'd say if you were to ask him, he would probably say, why the fuck did I go to the church that night?